Welcome back to another edition of New York Got Game. It's Dexter Henry. The Knicks, they are headed to the NBA Cup Final. On Tuesday, New York survived a physical semifinal against the Orlando Magic on Saturday to advance to that Cup Final. And look, they keep stacking momentum. They keep getting better. They've won 9 out of the last 10 games. They've won 5 games in a row. Now they're 1 win away from bringing home the first trophy of the season. Knicks fans, I know it. You're hoping for more. We'll see if that happens. But what does this run that we've seen from the Knicks really tell us about how this Knicks team is through their first 25 games of the season, and what's waiting for them in a San Antonio team that has had a good run of themselves and found their way to the Cup Final? Well, we're going to answer all that because we've got 2 guests on tap for you today, one to break down New York's start to the season and the other to preview the Cup Final matchup from the Spurs perspective. So let's not waste any time. Let's get right into it. Okay, the Knicks, they are 18-7 on the season through their first 25 games. And look, they're playing with the kind of confidence that you would expect from a team that's grown together, been tested a little bit through some times. And now they're 1 win away from an NBA Cup title. They've navigated lineup changes, new coach, right? They've built an identity here. And this run has given them a taste of playoff level basketball here in December, which is a good thing for this Knicks team. So we're going to try to put this all into perspective here on this episode. And to do that, I'm bringing in a first-time guest to the show here on New York Got Game. He runs a fantastic YouTube channel. It's one that I'm a fan of. It's called Into The Knicksverse. Welcoming to the show, my guy, George Esguerra. George, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great, man, especially after that win last night. And first of all, thank you for having me on, inviting me on. I've been a big fan of your show, your channel, and the guests you've had on. You always have some quality. You have quality discussions on this channel.
Thank you, man. I try to. I mean, I love basketball. I love Knicks hoops, and I try to have quality discussions with people like yourself who do great work. I just think it's always great to have different voices to talk. I love having great new different voices in the Knicks space to talk to. So I'm very honored to welcome you here to the show. But I guess we'll get into it, George, because okay, this is 25 games is a mark in the season where I look at as pretty significant, right? I think it's the time you can start saying, okay, we might know some things. We might know some things about the identity of this team. This might look real. This might look fake, whatever it might be. But through these 25 games, how would you characterize the overall trajectory of this 18-7 Knicks team, especially where they went from starting the season, new head coach and Mike Brown, to where they are now at 18-7? What do you think their trajectory has been thus far this season?
Honestly, they're right in line with what I had hoped for the team. I did a season preview. I usually try to guesstimate the actual win total. And I usually do these videos where I go through every single game, and I do it live and people watch it. But this year I didn't have the time to do that. I just kind of went in and looked at the various predictors, ESPN, the Pelton model. I think that I looked at what Vegas was saying, BetMGM. And then I went through the games on my own, and I ended up with 59-60 wins for the Knicks. And that means that's a 700 winning percentage. And that's exactly where the Knicks are right now. So that I'm very happy about. This team is delivering on basically all the promises that we had hoped for when you brought in the new coach, to liberate the players. And again, it's also year 2 for this core.
Yep.
So that also helps them. But what Mike Brown has done here, he's unlocked something, and I love that he's willing to pivot and experiment. He hasn't stuck with one way or the other, like choosing to turn to start Hart, even though Hart was actually struggling terribly at the time. And then, boom, that ended up working out beautifully. He's been unbelievable since then. So this is, for me, I mean, right now the Knicks I have a 720 winning percentage. So that's even over. That's like almost, I think it's about 61, maybe 62 wins. So while they'll keep this pace going, it'll be interesting. 25 games is a good marker. I was thinking more 30 games That was like, to me, actually I was on with CP earlier in the season. Actually, we're doing a preseason thing, and we talked about that, and we were like, yeah, we think up at the 30 game mark. But this team is just clicking on all cylinders right now. Even the defense is starting to come around. I know you have we have questions for that, but I'm really, if I was to plot the chart, they're hitting all the markers, especially with losing OG for like 3 weeks. Brunson has just been unbelievable, but losing Deuce McBride, he's essential for this team. I wish we had him for Tuesday.
Yeah, I think when you put it in perspective like that, right? You look at OG being out for some time, Deuce now. Yes, he will be missed on Tuesday in that Cup final for sure. There's no doubt about that.
And the weirdness with Mitch, too. Like, he missed the first 5 games, and then he doesn't. He plays a few minutes. Like, with all those oddities, to think that this team is 18-7.
Yeah. I feel like, and remember, George, I'm gonna tell you, you remember this. It was 2-3, and there was some panic town from some people, around the Knicks and in the media. It was like, okay, I don't know what's gonna happen.
Oh, the media was trashing us.
Yeah, 2-3. There was some people saying Mike Brown doesn't have it, which I thought was ridiculous at the time. I said a 25 game mark. I think it's a great time to look at things, but you're right. Even a 30-day mark, that'll put you around Christmas, which is always a very interesting time to look at NBA teams. And so we'll see how the Knicks are there. After the Cup, they have an interesting stretch, which we'll get into a little bit later, where they have a little bit road heavy. But let me ask you this, because in the beginning of the season, just talked about that, where they were 2-3, and now they're 18-7. What are the most noticeable areas of growth that you've seen from this group compared to where they were at the start of the season?
Well, I think, for one, it's their willingness to embrace the Brown system, the new offensive system. And it took a while. They kept talking about concepts, like no plays were even being called. And that type, it's tough. It's tough to implement that. They only play 4 games in the preseason or something like that. And 2 of them were in the desert, which they swept those 2, but it's really not enough time. And practice is not really the place where you really refine these type of concepts. So they were going to stumble out of the gate. It was just going to be the natural course of events. They were going to stumble out of the gate. It was going to take some time to figure it out. Even Brunson was looking a little confused. Cat, remember, a lot of times he's like, I don't know. I don't know how this is going to work. Right. I don't know how this is going to work. But what's great about it is they didn't give up on it. The players believed that it was eventually going to work, and they should, for sure. Mike Brown has tremendous credentials. He's coached some of the greatest players of the past 20 years or so. And then, he had the Golden State run when Kerr was hurt. Mike Brown totally steered that ship beautifully. So he had the pedigree. He's coach of the year. And what's great about it is Mikal Bridges. He, I think, has been the absolute key to making this, if you're looking at this as like a clock machinery, making it work. His constant movement, his ability to get steals and blocks now, defensively and offensively. He doesn't necessarily need the ball to be an impact player, but man, when he has the ball, and by the way, you brought up Christmas.
Yes.
Last year against the Spurs,
San Antonio,
the Knicks
41.
played
41 piece.
And Wemby had 40. 41 himself.
Great game.
So that was insane. That was an insane game. And he answered back. Wemby had 42 and Mikal had 41. The Knicks won it by 3. It's really close, 117-114. I'm expecting a big game from Mikal again on Tuesday. I keep saying tomorrow night because I want it to be tomorrow.
we can't wait. After Saturday, what we saw, the Knicks playing very well against the Magic. Everybody can't wait for Tuesday night. And look, I'll say this: I thought Mikal Bridges would thrive in Mike Brown's system. I felt very good about him having a good season. I think it's exceeded my expectations because of how it's looked. In terms of, he just looks a lot more comfortable. The way he's attacking the basket, he's not fading away the way we saw a lot last year. I just think the way it's looked has been encouraging, along with the defense that you just mentioned there in terms of the blocks and the steals, getting all those stocks right there, George. So the way that's looked has been really good. But when you look at this team, right, and you look at the numbers, because I like to look at cleaning the glass. That's the site I like to go to for stats because they take out the garbage time. And according to cleaning the glass, the Knicks, they're second in offensive rating. They are 12th in defensive rating right now through these first 25 games of the season. What do you think is driving the numbers that we're seeing here from the Knicks on both ends of the floor? What do you think is driving those numbers?
It's interesting that they have us as 12th because on NBA and NBA advanced stats we're 11th. We were 10th before going into the game last night,
right? Yep.
But we did give up 120 points. Interesting. Well, what is the key to one of the main reasons why they're starting to click on both ends? Well, for one, I think is what we basically started out talking about before, which was their willingness to embrace the Mike Brown system offense. And finally, it's starting to click. And I'll tell you, one of the major reasons why this thing is working is the passing. Their willingness to pass. Last season, they passed about 281 passes per game they made. Now they're up to almost 300 per game, 296. And that means more touches for other players. That means the players, they know like, hey, if I give up the ball, I know it's going to come back my way at some point. And the way they've been out in transition, that's also, they're getting easier buckets. I felt like last season that we had to work so hard for buckets, and the ISO frequency is way down this season over last season. So all of those things, what does that mean? That means more player movement, more cutting, more passing. And it helps that you have two fantastic 3-point shooters from the corners, which is Mikal Bridges and OG Anunoby. I'm not sure exactly where they're at right now in terms of those stats, but OG was, I think, number one in frequency and efficiency from the corner.
From the corner, yep.
I mean, number one in the entire NBA. And Mikal is in that range as well. It's a shame that Shamet is hurt right now because he was also killing it from the corners. But man, look, and also it all starts with Brunson. His willingness to be patient and figure out how he can still be himself in the new structure. It's funny we use the word structure because I feel like they're more liberated.
I would agree.
The free flow of the offense where it's not so Brunson centric, and yet he still now is able to find his own space. But he got 40 points the other night.
And I know it took 27 shots, but it was an efficient 41, and he's still at eight dimes, and he was getting to the line. He was only 2 of 5 from three in that game.
The Magic is they're a great defense.
Yes, they're a great defense, and this was all done, George, in the flow of the game. It felt very much in the flow of the game in that semifinal matchup, and he did it really efficiently. So I think Brunson, to your point, he's found that good balance of playing in this new, I'm going to use your word, I'm going to use it for the rest of the season, liberated system that feels good for the Knicks, and also while still doing what he needs to do and go into his bag when that needs to happen. Let me ask you this, because
wait, before we get onto that,
yes, go.
Just to drop this.
Yeah.
He lit up the Spurs for 61 points.
Yeah. That was
not that long ago.
Yep. Yeah. That was March of last year, right? Was it March? I think it was March.
Yes. That was March of last year. And Wembanyama was there. Wembanyama dropped 40.
Yep. That was a fantastic. He's 61. So we know he's capable of that. So look at that.
George didn't play that game, by the way. Cat did not play that game.
No Cat in that game. George is going back to these big number games the Knicks have had against the Spurs, both last season, 41 for Bridges, 61 for Brunson. Knicks fans would love to see that on Tuesday night. Well, a good game from both of them would be fantastic, but we'll get into that. Good note there. The lineup we've seen lineup changes, and you talked about Mike Brown's willingness to experiment with different lineups. But early in the season, what rotation or lineup combination has really stood out to you as one that's the most reliable for this Knicks team thus far?
Anytime Brunson is on the court with Deuce. That to me, that is a fabulous combination. Those two. I'm one of the ones who think that when he comes back and he's healthy, but it's hard to say this now because Josh Hart is just on a tear.
Right.
Though he did struggle last night from three, which it'll be important. It'll be essential on Tuesday that Josh Hart punishes the Spurs if they decide to put Wembanyama on him. Josh Hart is going to have to continue doing that. Well, he's been doing it. It's been fabulous. So I'm fine with Deuce coming off the bench as the first guy off the bench, but I love that tandem of the two of them. And now with Deuce out, what has Mike Brown done? He's paired Kolek with Brunson,
which shocked me a little bit.
Ball handlers, yeah, it shocked me. The dual ball handler, it just, I think it makes life easier for the other three guys on the court. Looking around for the smallest guy in the court, to get him the ball, because we don't have fabulous ball handlers. So McCall, he's decent. OG sometimes gets a little crazy with the dribble. Cat, he's cut down his turnovers tremendously. For a big guy, he's pretty good, but he's still, a big guy. He's not a wizard with the handle. And Deuce isn't, but Deuce's handle has drastically improved over his course of his career. He's not a wizard with the handle either, but he's definitely much better, than the other guys. And that ability to stabilize that in his point of attack defense, it just makes life easier for Brunson when they're on the court together. I bet you didn't expect me to say that pairing.
I did not. I didn't expect that. I didn't expect that at all. No, and I thought, because I think for me, the thing with Kolek and the pairing of them is, we saw it a little bit a couple games ago, and it did not go so well. We even saw some of that in the Boston game, that the latest loss in their last 10 games, the only loss. That did not look so great then.
Yep.
But you got to give Mike Brown credit because he's been willing to go to it. And I do think there's something in what you're saying about having those two ball handlers in the backcourt, just being able to help the other guys feel more comfortable and where they're doing, where they might get the ball. And Kolek's held up the last couple of games in particular. It's held up pretty well defensively, where I would have been concerned. I thought he played really well against Orlando. That's a very physical team there, as you know. So I thought he held up pretty well there. In terms
Toronto too, he played decently. Yeah,
he did. In terms of the offensive identity, and you kind of hit on this earlier, what are you seeing? Because it's so good. They're top three offense, and the question I'm asking is, what are you seeing in terms of the offensive identity? Some of the stuff you hit on that I thought was really key about them being able to just get buckets easier than they have in previous seasons under Tom Thibodeau. But what do you see about their offensive identity that makes you say, you know what? I think this can go to even another level. I think they can get even better than what we're seeing offensively, even where we've seen some guys out. What are you seeing that you like about it that makes you think it can get even better?
Well, one thing, and it's going to go counter to what we actually just watched, because what we just watched is one of the worst three-point shooting performances for the Knicks, and one of the fewest attempts. What was the attempts?
They were 20, 7 of 20 against Orlando. Yeah.
So, but this season, they are averaging 6 more three-point attempts than last season. And last season, they shot pretty well. They shot nearly 37% from the three, but they were the 4th fewest three-point attempts team in the NBA. Yep. This season, they're up to almost 40. They're 39.9. They're averaging, basically 40 they're averaging. And they're shooting even better, 37.8%. That is stretching the floor tremendously. It's making defenses work harder, get out there to close out on guys. And guess what? The more you do that, the more tired the defenses get. And then you start getting even more open looks because they're like, I'm not going to race out.
I'm not going to close out there. Right.
Yeah. And sometimes they're so wide open that it's almost intimidating. Like OG is really good at hitting the super wide open shot, but you can see how Josh Hart in the beginning of the season, he was hesitant. He'd pass up on it. Instead he'd drive into the defense when he has a wide open shot, no one around him for like 8 feet. And that was a key thing, though. He turned that around. He started just having confidence in it. Maybe this new shooting coach is helping.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I mean, he's got the thing with the splint on the finger.
Yep.
Maybe it's stabilizing his shot more. I've been very impressed with that. Look, another thing is Cat got off to an incredibly slow start from the 3-point line.
Good point.
And the Knicks were still, one of the best 3-point shooting teams in the league in the beginning. But in the first 12 games, Cat was averaging under 35% from the 3-point line. That's like career worst. And just in general, he was averaging 43% from the field. He was still getting points, 20, almost 22 points a game. But since that was the first 12 games, in the last 10 games, he's up to 55.7% from the field and almost 46% from the 3-point line. And now his scoring is up 23.6. And that right there is he's where he is trending. The whole team is going because Brunson's going to be Brunson. He's going to cook teams left and right. They're not going to be able to stop him. It's just the reality of who he is. He's averaging almost 29 points a game himself, and he's just unstoppable. And the Spurs, unfortunately, are going to have to endure some pain on Tuesday because I feel Brunson's going to kill him, especially in the mid range, in like the not quite the short mid range, like the mid range.
Mm-hmm.
He loves that bucket, and it's going to keep pulling Wemby away from the hoop further and further and further. And then guys are going to be able to cut behind. And Brunson he's been showing a willingness to pass now, and I think the Knicks have such a variety of ways to punish the Spurs. I know we're jumping ahead to talking about that. Punish the Spurs, I'm just really excited about the situation. However, if the Knicks aren't making their threes, it's going to make life really tough. Like they're not going to win against the Spurs the way they won against Orlando. We're not going to punish them in the paint.
Yeah, which the Knicks did a great job of, right? Because they didn't, and they also did, as you mentioned,
70 points in the paint.
Yeah, they're not going to. That's not going to happen. Not against a team that there with Wemby down low and what he can do defensively. Speaking of defense, what do you believe has been the biggest factor in the Knicks' success defensively? Because they've been trending upwards defensively from the start of the season through these 25 games. And I've been saying all season long, I've been saying it from before the season started, George, I think they can be a top 10 defense. Do you believe they have the personnel to be a top 10 defense right now? Do you think that can happen?
I do. I do believe that can happen. They were basically there before last night's game. They were a top 10. I do believe it can happen. And one of the main reasons is because Cat is not in drop coverage anymore.
Mm-hmm.
He still does it at time to time, but he doesn't completely sag back the minute the screen is set like he was last season. He's coming up to the level, and that has made a tremendous impact in his ability to stifle what's happening out on the perimeter as well. And it's slowing players down from getting into the paint. Now we're still getting cooked on the outer ends on the perimeter and getting to the baseline. You saw Suggs doing it to us. But a lot of times that's, it's with the Yabuselis on the court and Clarkson's on the court. Not so much when it's, even though it did happen with Bridges and Hart, it's much less so. But Cat's defense, he's actually been protecting the rim without fouling as much. Yes, from time to time, he does do the dumb foul, the frustrating foul. Yeah, it's unnecessary. But I mean, I wish there was a stat for that. The dumb fouls. Like dumb fouls. I think he's cut the dumb fouls down in half. At least it seems like that.
Yeah.
And that makes a huge difference as well. And the games where we struggle are the games when we're making dumb fouls, and that's a lot of that is Cat and Hart. And then of course defensively, I mean, OG Anunoby, he is the absolute key to this Knicks defense, to making it work. His ability to just basically cover 1 through 5. I mean, he, the steals that he gets where he shoots the gaps, he's just phenomenal. He's just one of the most phenomenal players in the NBA right now. I think he is a top 10 player in the NBA right now.
Yeah, I'm top. His two-way ability is tremendous, and I wonder if he's going to be your answer to my next question that I have here, because who would you identify as the most important, I will put in air quotes, glue player or X factor in this Knicks early season play? Which guy is that for you? That's the X factor for this Knicks team. If he's going right, he's playing good, this team is going to be all right. Who's that guy for you?
Well, this is why I think this team really does have championship credentials, because this answer isn't one guy. It is several guys. You could say Deuce McBride his ability to kill opponents' rallies with those clutch 3-pointers or create a turnover. Mikal Bridges being able to just his pick sixes. OG to be able to take a guy who's hot and just ice him. Like those three guys. And then Josh Hart. I mean, if you count Josh Hart, the minute he's been put into the starting lineup, what are the Knicks of 9-1? Since he's been in the starting lineup, yeah. He could be considered a total X factor. Yeah, so, absolutely. And then look, then you have Mitch Robinson, who hasn't looked like the Mitch Robinson that we got used to, that we were anticipating, but he's been coming on strong. But man, what was that game where Mike Brown was like, Mitch Robinson, he was like screaming his name in the post-game interview because he was just blown away, but he got like 9 offensive rebounds.
That was against Minnesota. That was against Minnesota. Against Minnesota, yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So, it's just been a multitude of X factors as far as look what Landry Shamet has done when he was healthy.
Right. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. 30 points in the second half of the game. And then you have, in terms of a glue guy, I think Mikal Bridges has to be, the X factor and glue guy, I think I see them as a little different.
Yeah, they can be different. They can sometimes it can overlap, but they can be different.
Sometimes it could be the same. Yeah, overlap. But I see them as a little different. But if I could separate them, I think the glue guy has been Mikal Bridges this season.
Mikal Bridges,
he's the third leading scorer on the Knicks. Yep. He's shooting almost 41% from three, 42.6% from the field overall. And that's not on. He doesn't have much volume. 12 shots per game. But he's having career year in assists, in rebounds, steals, and block shots.
Yeah, he's been great. He's been fantastic,
and he's there every single game.
He's available. You can count on him to be there. Here's another thing you can count on, George. Count on the Knicks to win at home. They've been strong there. 13-1 at home. Little bit of a slow start on the road, right? Where they're 4-6. Are you concerned at all about their play away from MSG this season? And how important will be the stretch of games after the Cup final? Because 8 of the next 11 games following the game on Tuesday against San Antonio are going to be on the road. So how important is that stretch of games? And do you have any concern about their play on the road this season?
I was at first having some concerns, but I was like, what, let's be patient here. Let's see, again, 25 games. Let's see what 30 games are like.
Right.
And right now, I'm definitely not concerned at all. Actually, I think they've won their last 2 games on the road. I think their record is now 4-6. I think they started off 0-3, right? Or 0-4.
0-4.
So 0-4. So they're 4-2 since then. So I think they've steadied that ship. A lot of it comes down to the inconsistency in the roster itself in terms of who's available and who's not on each given night. Deuce has missed other games earlier. Remember, he had personal reasons, and then there was illnesses and a lot of that. And then there was back-to-backs. I think they had 3 back-to-backs as well. All of that factors in. Yeah, 3 already. So I'm not as concerned with that, especially when you look at the numbers, the splits between home and away. Yes. Are they shooting better at home? Definitely. They're shooting from 3. They're shooting 39%. On the road, they're 35%. But overall, on the road, they shoot better on the road. Isn't that crazy? 49%.
That is interesting. I also think it helps they played some road games in some places that also are very Knick friendly, like Charlotte and Miami and Orlando. I think some of those places have been, that's been a little bit friendly for them too. Okay, so you're not worried about them on the road. How do you think the NBA Cup experience has benefited this Knicks team in terms of the playoff style and pressure and readiness that you think can help them not just now through these first 25 games, but down the road into the season and into the playoffs?
Well, I think it's been instrumental in helping them solidify, you could say establish their identity, but solidify their identity. They started off with a loss. I think it was the first loss. I think it was to Miami, right? The first Cup game.
Yes.
Yeah. They lost that game and it was it was a bitter loss. I remember that. And then they went on and they've won the rest of the games out. They're on a 4-game winning streak in the Cup, and these games are gaining intensity.
Sorry,
Opened.
it was Milwaukee. Milwaukee was the game they lost. It was Milwaukee. That was the first game they
Oh, it
lost.
was Milwaukee.
The Cup game was
Okay.
Milwaukee. Yeah, sorry.
Milwaukee. All right. So it was Milwaukee.
But point
right.
taken. Yes.
Yeah. So then they studied that. They started figuring out how to perform under this intensity of the Cup schedule itself, because there were some back-to-backs and stuff like that. And then how they took care of Toronto on Tuesday night.
Tuesday. Mm-hmm.
Tuesday night. That was spectacular how they took care of them. And I was on the road as well. So I think it has helped them, and also now going to Vegas, and they had a good experience when they went to Abu Dhabi, and they all got to share time together, eat dinners together and stuff. I think they developed more of a kinship, a friendship there. The relationship solidified, and possibly that's what's happening here in Vegas. I can't speak to that. We're going to see what they say, but it seems like a camaraderie. It helps them continue to develop the camaraderie that they had started back then. And when you're winning, everything starts feeling great,
Yeah, that helps for sure. What do you think? What are your 3 keys that the Knicks got to hit in order to win against San Antonio on Tuesday? What's the 3 keys to that game?
Ooh, the 3 keys. Well, number 1, Josh Hart is going to, like I said earlier, he's going to have to make the Spurs regret that they're going to leave him open, and that they're going to put Wembanyama on there, because I think Wembanyama is just going to basically just smother the paint, because he's not going to want Brunson to get in there. He's not going to want McCall and OG to do their cutting and to finish at the rim. Major rim protection. Plus, they also have Luke Cornett, so he's going to be a big factor as well. So Hart and Cat from outside have to be willing to take the shot and make the shot, make those threes. If that starts happening, Spurs are going to be scrambling. They're going to have to start adapting and figure out what to do. And the beautiful thing is, once Wemby starts having to leave the paint, then Cat can drive. And if Wembanyama wants to come in and try to, block him, maybe he'll get him in foul trouble. So getting Wembanyama into foul trouble is, I put the first one is Hart and Cat have to hit their threes. And then Knicks need to get Wembanyama into foul trouble.
That's number 2. Okay.
The other thing is these like De'Aaron Fox, they love to slice up defenses and get to the hoop, finish at the hoop. Stephon Castle, Dylan Harper, those 3 guys, the Knicks are going to have to neutralize them and force them into being 3-point shooters.
There you go.
Force them into being 3-point shooters.
Okay.
I think they do that. I'm pretty confident that the Knicks will win.
All right. Yeah, that's good. Those are 3 good keys. Real quick before we get out of here, got a couple minutes to go. If you step back and look at the Knicks' outlook beyond this Cup final, what do you think this 18-7 start says about their ceiling for the rest of the season? They've started good. They're above pace of what you expected, but what do you think this says about their ceiling for the rest of the season and where you think they can go?
They have done everything correct in terms of adjusting from the false start, the stumbling out of the gate, and dealing with the injuries. To me, I feel like the Knicks are going to end up the number 1 team in the East by mid-January. And if by the end of January, if that has happened, then now the Knicks can start creating some distance between them and the rest of the East. And then they can start maybe not necessarily resting some guys, but maybe not playing guys as many minutes in games, or maybe just giving a guy, a night off or whatever, except McCall, of course, not McCall. But, and I think that is going, basically the Knicks can solidify their position as the number 1 team, because I don't know if the Pistons are going to be able to keep this up. They've stumbled a little bit of late, but, they're still 2 games ahead of us right now. So I have a feeling that the Knicks getting the number 1 seed would be the best outcome for them in terms of the playoffs, because they are 13-1 at home. So the more home series they have, the better for the Knicks. And, the ultimate goal is getting to the NBA Finals, especially when you see the Cavs stumbling. The Cavs, didn't they lose today? I think they lost in overtime. They didn't score a point against the Hornets in overtime, and they lost.
The Hornets.
Yeah. Now they didn't have Mobley. He wasn't playing, but the Hornets didn't have LaMelo.
Right.
He wasn't playing.
Right.
So, I just don't. I think the Knicks are poised right now to establish themselves as the beasts of the East. And in these next series of games, which how many road games? You said eight?
Eight out of the next 11 after Tuesday on the road.
See, if they get past that stretch, let's just say, throw a number out there. If they go 8-3 during that stretch. Yeah. I mean, if they go 8-3 in that stretch, that'll put them at 26-10, their record.
It's a good spot to be in. Sounds good.
Yeah. Great spot to be in.
Will be a great spot to be in. We'll see how they do. It's a very important stretch for the Knicks coming up. We will see what they're able to do. I tend to agree with you, George, that I think if they can get through that stretch well, they can get some separation from themselves as they get through the top of the East. I do think the Knicks are trending in the right way. But we'll see. Good luck through the first 25 games. Big game on Tuesday. Cup final matchup against the Spurs. We'll see if the Knicks are able to win that. That is George Esguerra from Into the Knicksverse. Please check out his YouTube channel. Hit that like button, subscribe button for him. George, real quick, your prediction predicting the Knicks to win the Cup game against the Spurs?
I am predicting the Knicks to win this Cup game. Yeah, I think it's gonna be close. I think it's gonna be close, but we have Brunson, and they don't. They have Wembanyama, but we have Mitch. We can throw some length out on him. Mitch did play him well in the past. We've only faced Wembanyama 3 times,
right?
Wembanyama himself, and I think Mitch only was in 2 of those games. He stacks up well against him, and then we have Cat, who has been playing much better defense of late.
Not fouling.
Not fouling, and then forcing him to be more of a 3-point shooter. And then what I like is that, that's one of the things where I like about Josh Hart. He's willing to step in front of a big guy like that. Maybe take a charge. Brunson will take a charge, just get him into foul trouble, make the Spurs have to adjust their game plan, and then the Knicks sail to a victory, hopefully. But I'm actually predicting it's going to be a closer game.
All right. Predicting it's going to be a win. George Esguerra. Check him out. Into the Knicksverse. George, appreciate you, man. Thanks for hopping on me.
Thank you, man.
Game. Thank you.
Thank you, man. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay, now that we've looked at where the Knicks stand through their first 25 games, it's time to shift our focus just a bit to Tuesday night. Got one trophy, one game. New York versus San Antonio goes down on Tuesday night in the NBA Cup Final. It's a chance to put a statement win on the board right before we even get to Christmas. So it's really, really important. Now, the Spurs, the Knicks' opponent in that game, they put together a really good run in this cup of their own. This matchup is a fascinating matchup. It's a rematch of the 99 finals. For Knicks fans that go that far back, it's a different clash of styles here. It should be really interesting. Different personnel, different coaching, which all makes this fascinating. So, I had to get somebody to help us break this all down. And joining me to break it all down is the fantastic reporter, Carolina Teague. She is of the SPURFECT Blog, does a great job covering the Spurs, and she joins me now. Carolina, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me. As always, it's a great time to meet up with each other, by the way. NBA Cup Finals.
Yes.
Watch.
Yeah, I always feel like we get to talk like once a year. And this is last time we talked was last year on Christmas, that fantastic game between the Knicks and Spurs. And now we have a game for stakes for the Cup, New York versus San Antonio. It should be really fun. But one of the things I always love to do with this is for our viewers that obviously consume a lot of Knicks basketball is get them to know the other side of the game. What's the other team about? So when we look at this Spurs team, what would you say is their identity right now? What defines their identity heading into this Cup final?
Their identity right now is depth. They've been preaching about depth all season long, and even Harrison Barnes said it recently. He lights up when you hear the word depth. Depth is something that sounds very cliche, but it's something that the Spurs have been discussing throughout the preseason, through training camp, and you see the depth not only with the current team, but it also extends into the G League. The San Antonio Spurs are very supportive of the Austin Spurs, and they even broke a franchise record, 5-0, most undefeated games throughout the season, and they're playing phenomenally in the G League as well. So for the Spurs, depth is everything. Somebody can come up from the G League on a Sunday to a Tuesday, like David Jones Garcia, drop 14 points when they need to, and then go back to the G League. So depth is their identity for sure.
I like that right now. Depth is something you need in the NBA at this time as well, too, with the aprons and all of that. One of the things when I watched the Cup semifinal game on Saturday where the Spurs upset the Thunder. I was really impressed with the guard play in that game, particularly the young guards on this team, Stephon Castle, Dylan Harper. You saw a step up really big. What have you seen from the Spurs guard play this season that you feel can impact this matchup here on Tuesday night against the Knicks?
I think what I've seen is the same thing that Tony Parker has recently said that he's seen. And he says that the young group of guards, they play fearless, aggressive, downhill basketball. You have Dylan Harper, Steph Castle. They don't hesitate to attack the space. They have constant rim pressure. It forces defenses to collapse early. Then when you add scores like Devin Vassell, Keldon Johnson, De'Aaron Fox, that creates like a wave of pressure that can wear down a primary ball handler, somebody like Jalen Brunson, over 4 quarters. So it's not just one matchup, it's sustained stress throughout the entire game.
Yeah, and those guards really, really attacked well downhill in that semifinal matchup against the Thunder. When you look at the Spurs, I think when people think of them offensively, Carolina, or the people who maybe aren't as familiar watching them, right? The first thing they're going to think about is Wemby. They're going to think about Wemby. But how would you describe the Spurs style of play on offense? What makes them so challenging to defend right now?
I think what makes them challenging is that they're selfless, they're fluid, they're able to pass the ball. If somebody's guarding Wemby, if there's 3 people on Wemby, they can pass off to somebody like Harrison Barnes. They have people who can shoot at the 3. There's people who can attack at the rim. They're so fluid and effortless when it comes to the offense, and I think that's what makes them very hard to handle.
All right, so you got them on offense. Now look at the other side for them with defense. When you look at them defensively, what are the central principles that they are kind of riding on right now that stands out in terms of how they try to control the game on the defensive end?
So Devin Vassell said that one of the things that stands out for their identity is them playing together. So that starts with their connectivity. They've used this big word called trust throughout the entire season. The Spurs team defends as a unit. They communicate, they rotate early, they trust the next man up to be in the position. That depth allows them to maintain their intensity without that drop off, which shows up in their plus minus and lineup impact. Even when you look at Devin Vassell, he has one of the best plus minuses in the NBA. And when you look at how Victor Wembanyama's performance was against the Thunder, they held the Thunder to a 13-0 run before the half. That shows their ability to collect together and have their momentum matter when it comes to the defense.
Yeah, that was very huge. I think people look at that 13-0 run before the half, and they were able to consistently string together stops. That was very impressive in that game. When you look at this matchup, is there an individual matchup that you really keep your eye on? Like, what individual matchup between these two teams do you think will have the greatest influence on the final outcome of this NBA Cup final?
I think for this one, the matchup is going to be Brunson versus everybody. Yeah, the Spurs collective perimeter depth. The San Antonio can throw multiple looks at him, the size, speed, physicality without relying on one defender. So that's a major difference from last season. You know, he dropped 61 points in March, I believe. So how Jalen Brunson handles that sustained pressure while controlling the tempo, that's what's going to dictate the Knicks and their offensive flow. So for me, I think that's the matchup I'm looking for. But if I had to make a prediction on one-on-one, I would like to see OG versus Wembanyama because that can also impact New York and how they handle the defense early on in the game.
Okay, that's the matchup that I've got my eye on too, which is the key. Like, how do the Knicks stop Wemby and who they're going to throw at him? Probably OG. Might see a little bit of Mitchell Robinson on him at times. That's going to be very interesting. That's a matchup I've got my eye on too. But you're not wrong. Jalen Brunson versus everybody is not a bad choice there, Carolina. When you look at the Spurs, what do you think they got to do in order to keep the game in their control? Because this is a Knicks team that's playing with a lot of confidence right now. I know this game doesn't count to the standings, but they've won 9 out of the last 10. They've won 5 games in a row. What do the Spurs have to do to keep this game in their control in terms of battling the Knicks on Tuesday?
I think they need to do what they've been doing. And the main word I've been hearing all season long is trust. They need to continue to trust each other with playing at high energy. They need to move the ball effectively, limit their turnovers. When they do have their struggles, it usually is with making free throws. So as long as they're able to lock in on those things, they should be fine.
We looked at players. We talked about like individual matchups, but it's funny. I talked about somebody with this last week when the Knicks were going to play Toronto in the quarterfinal round, but I like to look at X factors. So which Spurs player do you would identify as the most important X factor in this cup final if they are to be victorious?
My X factor all season long has been Harrison Barnes, aka Mr. 100%. Everybody, he kind of just is so humble and nonchalant with his style of play that people tend to forget that he's one of the main reasons why the Spurs have been winning, is because anytime he's getting the ball, he's very effective. So I think Harrison Barnes is that X factor. So for some reason, they're able to shut down Wemby. I think Harrison Barnes is going to be the person who's going to be able to pick up the offense if needed.
Hey,
But
look,
there's multiple people who could do that too, by the way.
no, you're right, which is what makes the Spurs so dangerous. And Harrison Barnes, I love that pick as an X factor because I thought maybe you go with it, maybe it's Stephon Castle or Dylan Harper, but Harrison Barnes, people forget this is a veteran. This is a guy who's won a championship with the Golden State Warriors, knows how to win, knows how to play. I think he's dangerous in a big game like this with the trophy on the line. Now, okay, we finally got to it. We went a good amount without really talking about Victor Wembanyama, but we got to talk about Wemby here. We know, and I know you know this covering the team, he is a very competitive player. So, what did you make of what we saw in his return from injury on Saturday night in that Cup semis game against the Thunder? And how focused do you think he is on bringing the NBA Cup title to San Antonio?
So it's crazy, like Wemby's impact when he played with OKC. I feel like they came back just to play against OKC just to see
Wait,
how
wait,
they.
wait, 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 wait. So, are you getting into what I think? We all know him and Chet. They got a little 7 foot beef going on. You think that had
Yeah,
something to do with it, Carolina?
I do, because everybody was saying he should have came back the game before, but I was like, I think he's probably holding out just for this OKC game. He comes back and then he's on the floor, right? So he could show what he's capable of. And then he absolutely dominates. They were scoring way more points than OKC and giving up almost nothing with Wemby on the floor. So when he sat down, everything flipped completely. And there's a statistic out there that everything flipped of a swing by almost 75 points in the game, which is like a cartoonish number, whether if it's on offense or defense. There was a 75-point differential. So it wasn't just about his blocks or scoring, it's about how fast he turns defense into offense. So
Mm.
his presence alone just tilts the entire floor. And also, he's just a very completely focused person when he's on the floor. So to be honest, I think when it comes to Wemby and looking at the NBA Cup, it's a great thing to have. But by the way that Wemby is playing, I think his focus is more so on an NBA title right now,
Yeah.
more than it is the cup. That's what he's given me when I'm watching him play, even
He,
as of yesterday.
he also strikes me as somebody like, look, he's gonna come here and try to give everything. And I agree with you. I'm not saying he was being petty. I think he had the date circled to come back if he could against the Spurs. Excuse me, against the Thunder. He wanted it again. That 7 foot beef between him and Chet. I love it. I think it's fantastic. We need more of that in the NBA. But the Spurs did play 12 games without him, Carolina, right? Do
Mhm.
you think that time without Wemby help this Spurs team grow, with particularly the young players on this team? And maybe you'll look back and say, okay, that time without Wemby helped them, grow and try to get to where they want to go this season. They obviously want to be a team that's in the playoffs, that can win a round or two in the playoffs, or dare I say even more. They have really lofty aspirations of where they're trying to go. So do you think the time without Wemby actually helped this group of Spurs players?
Yes, like I was I was kind of not, I wasn't happy that Wemby was injured, but I was low key happy in a sense that the world got to see how the Spurs play without Wemby. And every single game, there was a different factor. There were different challenges, but the Spurs were still able to close out games. They were 9-3. They still had a positive record without Wemby playing. So I liked seeing different people throughout that time frame step up at different times. Like I said, Harrison Barnes is one of those people that stepped up. Keldon Johnson giving high energy throughout the entire stretch. Then you had somebody like Devin Vassell, David Jones Garcia from the G League. There's just so many different people that got to showcase their talent. So I really like that the world got to see how the Spurs are. They're not just like the Selena y los Dinos, where Selena's a star and then the bandmates are in the back. It's more like they're a group and everybody's important. And I love that stretch showed that, and it was fun to watch.
Yeah, sometimes stretches like that can bode very well for teams, right? They just figure out other things. Guys get more confident, as you're noting there, to get these opportunities that maybe they wouldn't have gotten. And so, it's always say that next man mentality feels very cliche, but Things like that can definitely help teams. Okay. I think we've looked at a lot. I'm going to put you on the spot here, Carolina. It's prediction time. What's your prediction for this NBA Cup final? Who's going to hoist the NBA Cup on Tuesday? Is it going to be the Knicks or is it going to be the Spurs? What do you say?
I would say I'm going to go with the silver and black.
I had a feeling you. I had a feeling you might. I had a feeling you might.
I think I'm gonna go with the silver and black because they say once you go silver and black, then you can't go back. So that's why I'm picking the Spurs.
So you're gonna go with the Spurs there to hoist the NBA Cup on Tuesday night. Look, it should be a good one. I think it's going to be a really fantastic game between the Knicks and the Spurs. Knicks fans, I'll tell you this: Knicks fans are saying they want some revenge for 1999. They want some payback. So this is what Knicks fans are talking about. We'll see if that happens on Tuesday. But you're going with the silver and black. I expect it nonetheless.
Yeah, and as far as the revenge of 1995, I think it's pretty intense how Knicks fans can hold grudges for that long. I didn't know that New York held grudges for such a long time.
Listen. What I'll say is when you lose, that was a magical run by the Knicks in '99, and then they lose in the finals to the Spurs, Tim Duncan and David Robinson. Yeah, people are salty, especially when you haven't won a championship since 1973. People are salty. They definitely want to see that come again. But listen, it should be a fantastic matchup on Tuesday between the Knicks and the Spurs. You got Jalen Brunson, you got Victor Wembanyama, you got the young guards in the Spurs, you got karl-anthony Towns. Man, it should be a really good one. And Carolina Teague, she will be all over it. Check out her work with the SPURFECT Blog. Does a great job covering the Spurs. Carolina, I appreciate you coming and rocking with me here on New York Got Game. We'll definitely have to do it again. I keep telling you, you got to get up to New York for a game at the Garden, Spurs Knicks. We got to do that for sure.
Yeah, and I'm excited just as much as you are. The Spurs versus the Knicks, I wouldn't have it any other way. So thanks for having me, and can't wait to see how this goes down. It's gonna be fun.
No, it should be a fun one. That is Carolina Teague. As I said, check her out. That's gonna do it for this edition of New York Got Game. We will catch you next time. A lot to do with the Knicks this week. So much to talk about in the coming days. I'm Dexter Henry. Catch you next time. Another episode of New York Got Game.
And thanks for watching New York Got Game. Boom shakalaka.